Hi, everyone. I'm truly delighted to present to you Joyeeta Das, a deep tech serial entrepreneur currently acting as the CEO and co-founder of Samudra Oceans that creates technologies utilizing AI and robotics to sustainably and responsibly harvest seaweed at scale, while at the same time promoting biodiversity in coastal communities. While in this interview, we'll be delving more into her journey with Samudra Ocean specifically. Her experience spans wide, with academic background in engineering, physics, and business. She's worked with and scaled numerous businesses worldwide, chairs two global women's groups, and also sits on various boards too. So thanks again for being here today. And I would just like to start off by asking you basically how you started the company and how you ventured into green entrepreneurship from your more technical background.
Yeah, I got into entrepreneurship quite a few years ago. I think as a natural next step of my career, I wasn't really planning it, but just kind of happened. And then climate happened because I guess I've always been very, very connected to environmental concerns and always been one of those people who really, really wanted to participate in solving the climate crisis. And then when the pandemic happened, we actually got a couple of years to sit at home and just think. And that's when I came up with the fact that I don't think I want to do anything other than work in solving this solution. And that's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So, what problem are you solving with Samudra Oceans?
So, Samudra is basically a tech company. And what
Mhm.
we do is we make technology to scale aquaculture. We've started with seaweed and crustaceans, but we are looking at sustainable fisheries as well. And we help to scale that with the help of automation equipment.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, in the bigger picture, what role does Samudra Oceans play in the transition to a more sustainable future?
Yeah, really good question. So it turns out that blue farming or sea farms or aquaculture take up an outstanding amount of carbon from the air, potentially more than even
All
land-based
right.
trees or tropical forests. Like, in fact, sometimes a hectare can be taking out more carbon than 50 hectares of tropical Amazonian forest. So it's a very powerful blue carbon solution. So if we are able to help scale this, we would be able to help scale carbon removal in the world.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, that's really fascinating. Um, I would like to also get into a little bit into a little history of your company, and I would like to ask how you got together with your co-founders, how you met them.
So I met my co-founder literally in Carbon 13, which is a venture builder, and in Cambridge. And we both are engineers, and we met there with the same intention. Like, I had the same intention as him. We wanted to make a company. We wanted to make it in the carbon crisis, and we wanted to use ocean technologies.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you were both, well, you were all kind of driven, motivated.
Yeah. Yeah, we were both people who wanted to do that. Then there are some other people in the company who've carried on for a while. Like one of my, I would say, near co-founder, my CEO, has been my CEO in the last three companies as well. So we have
Mm.
some continuity, and we have been working together a long time as entrepreneurs, and lots of people like that from my past journeys.
Yes, yes, that makes sense. And when you built out the team, well, throughout the years, how did you consider diversity, inclusion, and interdisciplinary skills?
So diversity and inclusion, I think, is happening quite naturally. I think that's because whatever the leadership sets up the tone for is how the company grows. Alex and I are both very diverse people. We are minorities. He grew up in Jamaica. I grew up in India. We came to UK as immigrants. I'm obviously a brown woman. So there's like a lot of diversity already going on in the company, and that naturally attracts lots of diverse talent without even going out of our way.
Hmm.
For the skill sets, I think at the moment we're still quite small. We're only 1.5 year old. So we really just really double down and focus on what we need to get stuff done, which is basically engineering and AI and field relationships. If that ends up being whoever, then that's that. And so we are not, we are just very meritocracy based. And the fun thing about that is it does end up happening that when you're meritocracy based, it's automatically very diverse.
Hmm. Yeah, so you say that there is like a direct connection between those values of diversity and inclusion and driving innovation and success.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yes. And you also touched upon, well, you yourself being a woman of color in this business and tech world. And I would like to ask if you could maybe expand on your personal experience of diversity and inclusion as a female founder and an entrepreneur of many years.
It's a massive problem, and I am tired of being one of those people who are always talking about it
Yeah,
and
I
making it a big.
understand.
But you know what? It is a massive problem, and I am sadly saying that most people who think things are getting better are either naive or lying. It's
Mm-hmm.
nowhere close to getting better. People are absolutely biased. They make
Mm,
their decisions in a very biased way, and they do it without even knowing it. Like if someone thinks that they are purposely being evil, you can actually have a chat with them. Most people believe they're not biased, but when it comes to decision making, they don't take a leap of faith on a woman or a minority. They just don't. And most of today's world, professions, decisions, anything of importance requires people to take a leap of faith on someone else, to take a chance. I find that they are not able to take a chance of someone who is not like them, which is a lot of us. Like they will probably behave very well, which they think is equal to them being very equal. But when it comes to making the decisions that matter, they're not able to take a leap of faith on women leaders or minorities. It eventually boils down to if something is going to happen which requires you taking a decision or standing by someone or taking a chance, they will end up doing it for those that look the most like them. Um, this is biomimicry, this is homophily, there are various technical scientific terms, but it is obviously a very dominant factor in most people's brains. And to be honest, I have seen that other than like very blatant on the surface type of discrimination, which is very rare, most people are actually quite nice. They'll treat you very well. But when it comes to making the decisions that matter, the bias is very dominant. But unfortunately, it's a very difficult conversation because most people believe they're not biased. They will actually tell you
yeah.
great of logic of why they made the decision they made. But that's the thing about logic. It actually just follows what your feelings have already decided to do. And so, the logic they're manufacturing is actually an afterthought. They don't realize it. They think that they're driven by logic, but they're actually inventing logic to justify what they already want to do. Um,
Hmm.
this is a massive problem. And to be honest, despite all the awareness we have right now, I know people think lots of things are getting better because there are shows and blogs and tweets and stuff. But let's look at the numbers because that's the only thing that matters. We still have less than 1% venture capital to women. We still
Hmm.
have less than percent to mixed founding teams. We still have LGBTQ plus founding teams literally getting zero capital, regardless of what they're doing. We still see Black founders struggling to even raise pre-seed rounds. We still see that there's a massive gender pay gap. We still see promotions are not provided equally. So none of the numbers have significantly changed. Probably they've changed from 100 years ago, sure, but they haven't changed as much as people think they have. That's the second biggest problem. I think that there is so much celebration of a small thing that it looks like a lot has been done. Like if
Hmm.
one woman had been hired into a leadership position, there'll be a million posts and pictures about her. And that gives you the feeling that 1,000 women have been hired, but it's not. It's actually just one. And I think that this is a form. I think not all of it is intentional. I think some of it is
Hmm.
unintentional, but overall, the effect of all of this is, to be fair, we're not getting anywhere. And I'm sadly seeing that repeat in various forums and platforms. I wish I could provide more positive news, but from where I stand, from 12 years of career, I don't actually see a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing your insight. I really appreciate you this all talking about this, especially since yeah, you must be asked this a lot as well. A woman in business and everything. And yeah, the the cognitive biases are just so deeply embedded, and our conservatism is really just hard to get rid of them. So yeah, a lot needs to happen to change. But okay, moving on from this topic, I would also like to touch upon entrepreneurship in general. And I'd like to ask kind of what are some of the most important or common traits of successful founders, entrepreneurs, and skills that budding entrepreneurs should focus on developing?
Focus. I think most entrepreneurs have a lot of nervous energy, and so they want to do a lot of things. I think many entrepreneurs even have ADHD. It's just the nature of how we are. I think focus is the most important thing. To be able to narrow down on one thing and not do anything else and say no takes a lot. And I think that's the key thing because you can end up doing a lot of things, jack of all trades, master of none, and you end up becoming unsuccessful because you only have resources to do very little. So focus is the most important factor. The second thing is listening to the market. A lot of us have ideas in our head which we think will work, but the market has its own answer. So going by what the commercial answer is first would be really, really important. Of course, there you can say there are people like Steve Jobs who didn't care, but if you look deep down inside, the truth is they did care. They actually cared it in a bigger way than anyone else. Lots of people are like, well, who needed touch phones before he came up with it? The market couldn't say it. That's not entirely true. If you look deep down, people didn't know they needed touch phones, but they did know that they need easier phones. So there was always an underlying need that formed the basis of the biggest entrepreneurial ventures. And that need has to be a commercial need. There are many entrepreneurs these days who are not commercial. They're working in the impact space, which is where I work. And so we are not driven that much by the market. We are following different KPIs, which is human impact and SDG and carbon content and things like that. But
Mhm.
even for us, I would say um, whoever is the driving force of that sector, whether it is a UN SDG or a particular segment that is funding the nonprofit, you have to go by what their market wants. Now, this is a little bit sad because one would say that if you feel like there is something that needs to happen, then you should be able to do it regardless of whether the market wants it or not. But the truth is, if you want to do that, like you don't care what the market says, but you'll do it anyway because you think it needs to happen, then you're an activist. You're not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur by definition has to have a a market related mindset. If you don't care about capital markets because they're stupid, which I believe they are sometimes, and you think some things really need to happen, then that's activism, which is different. But to be an entrepreneur, to build a company, which is actually a legal, social, financial entity, you do need to keep the market in mind quite heavily, I'd say.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, I really appreciate your kind of blend of like personal KPIs and also well having this inner market intuition. Yeah, it's really important for entrepreneurs in this climate tech sphere, I would say. Um, I would also like to ask um more of a personal question of how you stay motivated and focused. You say that focus is really important, and especially during harder times or during some setbacks or challenges.
Um, I actually spend a lot of time and energy on personal fitness, physical and mental, and I think that will really, really help. So I work out, I do yoga 3 times a week for the last 15 years. Intermittent fasting, eating clean, wholesome food, cooking food meals from scratch, always looking at, the content of my meals. Basically, for me, fitness is a driving force of my life that gives me sanity. I think if in addition to all the stress that I go through, if I was also not a fit person, I don't know how I'll be able to manage it because then I would have fallen
Mhm.
more sick, etc. And then I also invest in mental fitness. So I meditate. I take time out to spend time in nature. When I really need to reflect and walk away, I do that. I go pick up a book and just walk away because the brain's not working. I invest in surrounding myself with good people that I love and enjoy the company of, and I invest in it. Like I would pick up time in my calendar just to spend time with a group of friends I haven't seen. I will block it out in my calendar because I
Mhm.
know I need that love and nourishment to keep going forward. Um, Obviously, my family is also very helpful. My partner and my kid, all of that contributes. My mom. Basically, I think if you don't invest in mental and physical fitness and don't surround yourself by good health, both mentally and physically, be it by way of peer groups or by joining sports clubs or hiking, whatever you like. But if you don't invest in it, then your foundation to work hard is not strong. And then if you go out and work really, really hard and crazy, just like entrepreneurship is, a lot of the top layers will crack, which is why a lot of founders have mental health issues. I mean, you're highly likely to get mental health issues as a founder, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's very hard to escape it. So investing in physical and mental health is like the two foundational pillars that can support your journey. So I do that a lot. Um, in fact, there are times that if I would see, oh, it's been a month and I've not properly done a massive session, a workout or something, it's over a month, which is rare, but if it does, I will actually take a day off and I will not work. I will go do a big heat or a cardio or hike a mountain or join a dance class or like I'll do something which completely sweats head to toe. I'll go to spin class and then I'll go for a run. Basically, I will build it into my
Mhm.
schedule. Um, by the way, I think another thing that really keeps me going is I know it sounds a bit crazy, but I think food is a really important part of our life. What you eat is who you
Mhm.
are. And surviving on crap and being indisciplined and waking up and eating whatever you can and buying it from wherever has a big impact on how you think and function. If you want to make yourself into a very lean, mean machine that works very well and is very resilient, then what you put in your body has to be important. So I pay a lot of attention to clean, wholesome eating as well. Um,
Mhm.
Last but not least, I think I take a lot of strength from spirituality. So I'm not religious, but I am very spiritual. I have spent time in a monastery. I grew up studying as a very small kid in a convent, and then afterwards in actually an ashram. So I've been exposed to all sorts of schools of thought. I'm a big believer of Zen. When I'm not able to find answers very straightforwardly, I go by the higher truth, like what would it mean in the bigger context of life and the universe, and then just let
Okay.
it go. And that has helped me massively because sometimes, you really cannot find the answers on the surface level. No matter how much you try, it just doesn't make sense that something happened. Like there is no logic to why that would happen to you or to whatever you're on. And that will lead to a lot of stress because you're trying to reconcile the truth. Like, sorry, what happened? You just keep on going over and over. But if you ascribe to a higher form of thinking where, well, whatever it is, whether it's the natural order of the universe or whether you believe in karma or God or whatever, if you start to be like, well, it's just a pattern in the universe, it's not such a big deal. And then you'll be able to get on with your day.
Mhm. Yeah, what you described here, like the physical, mental, and spiritual health, like it's so important. And yeah, we're being told that all the time, but like, it's really about the kind of the small things that you embed in your life that kind of work. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, lastly, I'll just have a concluding question of what advice you'd give to entrepreneurs who are just starting out.
Um, Two advice. The first one is counterintuitive. I would say a lot of entrepreneurship lately last few years has been a lot about the messaging around it being, well, this is just one more thing you can do in your career, just go give it a shot. I would ask people to be very, very wary of that messaging. Entrepreneurship is a very grueling thing. It costs you health, relationships, and it definitely affects the closest people in your life massively. Because the only thing we have in this life to give to others is time and attention. And entrepreneurship takes both away from you. Your children suffer. If you have a partner, they definitely suffer. Your parents don't see enough of you. You financially take a risk which puts everyone at risk. I would
Mhm.
say this is not for everyone, and it shouldn't be. I don't think we are all at a point in life where we can do that. If you have a sick parent or a newly formed relationship or a little child, of course it's possible with the support of ecosystem around you. But it's worth thinking what it costs. It costs a lot, and it's highly likely that we won't succeed because the odds of succeeding are very, very low. So we would have subjected not only ourselves, but a lot of people around us to a lot of pain. So I would say think a lot before embarking on it because it's not just another thing you'll just try. No, it will suck you in and take years out of your life. Now, the second advice is completely counterintuitive to the first. Like, if despite hearing the first, it feels like something you want to do, something you want to risk, something you want to really push for, because you believe there's something that needs to happen and no one's doing it, so I'm going to go to get it done and I'm going to put everything, then you are ready for the journey. And then I would say there is a reward for that kind of sacrifice, which is amazing. It gives you purpose. I know lots of people go for fame and money, which is the external indicator. Sure, you can go for that. But for me, what it means is internally. Internally, it gives you purpose. It gives you joy and happiness. You wake up every day, at least on your good days, knowing that you're on a path that you believe to be right. You feel like you have agency in this world beyond your own life as well, and that is amazing. But like I say, I would say for a lot of people, they don't think of the first point. They just jump into it at any point in their life because they've read it in a magazine or a tweet said, you should all be entrepreneurs. And then, life becomes hell because they weren't prepared mentally, or, their family goes through a lot of stuff. I would say that's unnecessary pain. It's not for everyone. It shouldn't be for everyone. Or maybe there's a right time in life when you can do it. Um, but if you still go for it, none of this is stopping you, then I guess, this is the thing for you.
Hmm. Yeah, that was really good advice. I felt extremely inspired by this. So yeah, that would be the end of this interview. I would like to thank you for being here and for sharing your valuable insights.